Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I'll be discussing are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and in the last review I discussed the new Lanard Toys Alien Collection. If you stuck around to the end of the video, you'd know that the aliens weren't the only things I picked up from Walmart. I also got the new Lanard Toys City Hunter Predator. Unlike the aliens, unfortunately, I was not able to get all 3 of these. But in the interest of full disclosure, I am more of an alien fan than Predator. If I like this one though, you can definitely be sure that I'm going to track down the other 2. Will I? Well, only one way to find out. Let's go take this over to the review station and dig in. Taking a quick look at the box, and I actually am already liking this one a bit better than the Alien. If you remember, I kind of complained about the Alien collection box being a little bit busy. We had all these pictures up top, for example, and all this kind of repetitive information on the back. Predator's just a lot more clean and simple. Logo here, only at Walmart. Logo up top, not really much at all on the top flap. Really simple side. Product shots on the other side. And then just a clean, simple back. If you're interested in what all this says, you can of course pause it right here. Shows us we have 24 points of articulation, gives us an idea of the accessories that we're getting, and a look at the figure. Not that the Alien boxes were bad, but this is just a lot more straightforward and clean. Of course, packaging is more than just how clean the box looks, it's also about how easy the figure comes out, so let's give that a try. Everything came out just fine, and you know, similar to the Alien figures, there's a really nice backdrop here you can use for some figure photography. I love the Alien box, and this one's actually a lot better, so clearly this is going to get 1 whole point. Getting the City Hunter out of the package, we can see that he stands at 7¼ inches. There is a lot of sculpted detail here. Now, one of the first things I was curious about was whether or not the mask comes off, but that does not. It appears to be glued in place. We can see the fishnet pattern is sculpted over the body, and there's actually some really great texturing underneath that to replicate the Predator skin. Shoulder pauldrons here, the slashy action. Little self-destruct box over here. We have the shoulder cannon here, which, although we're not on posability yet, does actually look all the way around, which is really cool. The skirt is flexible, so that's not going to get in the way of articulating his legs. That's pretty nice. Some thigh pads, knees and boot tops, Predator toes. There is this one kind of awkward port here where his attack disc goes. Definitely sticks out like a sore thumb, and as you can see, they didn't really paint any of the actual gray around that, so it just sort of looks like it's sticking into his thigh. On that subject, one of the things that we do see once we really start to look up close is all of the paint that they didn't do. For example, this strap around the bicep isn't painted. They also left the tops of the arms and calves in the gray color that the armor pieces are cast in. You don't really notice it at a glance, but once you see it, you really can't unsee it. Also, a lot of missed lines here around the edge of the armor. Dreadlocks look good, but no paint detailing on those either. Also worth noting, if you pose the arms to kind of bend, then you don't really notice the upper arms not being painted in. This is a fantastic sculpt, but the lack of paint deco can be a bit distracting. Again, once you see it, you really can't unsee it. Still, for a $10 action figure, they did have to cut corners somewhere, so I do feel like this is a fair compromise. And I didn't really notice it until I looked closely. At a glance, could barely tell, and again, depending on how you pose it, you might not be able to tell either, so ½ point. Moving on to posability, the Predator's head is on a ball joint, and when I say a ball joint, I mean, like, this is the biggest ball joint on a head I've ever seen. Looks side to side great. Can't really look up because of the dreadlocks. Does look down a bit though, and a little bit of tilt. As I said before, there's also articulation in the shoulder cannon. Swivel hinge of the arm comes up that much on that side, and a little bit more on that side. All the way around, in spite of the shoulder cannon, single jointed elbow still on a swivel hinge, though like the Alien, doesn't really bend all that much. I'm pretty sure there's a ball in the hand, but it does not get really any up and down or side to side movement at all. Will spin all the way around though. One of the things that really surprised me was this waist. I expected it just to be a spinny, but there is actually a ball joint in there. So it can tilt side to side as well as arch back and forward. Really, really good waist joint. As we can see, like the aliens, the Predator hips are on balls. Kick out that far. Not too hindered by that. Really decent amount forward and a little back. Single jointed knees. Now the feet is where it gets really interesting. I saw this cut here and I assumed that they were only going to swivel side to side. But there's actually a dumbbell joint in there, allowing for some really decent front and back, but really great ankle pivot. If you remember, articulation was the only area where I docked the alien figures any points. Predator more than makes up for it. I was really surprised and really impressed with the articulation on this guy, so he gets 1 full point. Moving on to playability, we can see that accessories is another area where Lanard cut a few corners. All we have in the box are this spear and this smart disc, and we need to talk about the package. Remember this part of the box? It says what comes in it, points out the claws and the shoulder cannon and the smart disc and the spear, but also says there's this electro claw that is absolutely nowhere in the box. And it isn't that they forgot to pack it, there isn't a single place in the bubble for it. Clearly this is just an area where they had to cut some corners after the box was designed. That's why the boxes always say that the figures are prototypes and you shouldn't always read into what the box says. Still, they were clearly really squeezing their pennies to give us all this for 10 bucks. Smart disc fits in his hand like so, or holsters into the side. I think because of how awkward his thigh looks... without the smart disc, I'll probably just be posing him with the spear and leave that there. Playability is, of course, more than just accessories. It's also about how well your figure plays with others. So we do want to take a moment to have some side-by-side comparisons. Here's how he scales up with the Lanard alien figures, and is it just me, or should the aliens be just a little bit bigger than the Predator? For more AVP possibilities, hear how the Predator scales along with the xenomorphs from the Kenner Alien Resurrection line. This really feels more like it to me. He is a bit too large for the regular Aliens line, unless of course you want him to be that juiced up Predator from the new movie. Wild Boar and Panther might work though. And again, unless you want him to be the Super Predator from the new movie, he's way too big for the Kenner Predator line. He does scale pretty well though if you want to sneak him into some 6-inch lines. A nice figure with a couple of cool accessories and a lot of potential to mix and match him into the lines. Pretty much everything I ask for, so for playability, he gets 1 full point. This brings us to the last topic, which is price, and come on, you already know where this is going. $10 for all this? Yeah, 1 whole point. This brings the City Hunter Predator's grand total to 4.5. Alright, so in review, packaging, nice, clean, simple box, tells you everything you need to know, but do be warned, it is a little bit misleading about what accessories you get. I haven't seen the other figures in the wave, so I'd be very curious to see if that continues throughout. Presentation, great sculpt, mostly good paint job, but does miss a few parts that can be a little bit distracting. Posability, I was really surprised by just how posable this figure was. But in playing around with it, I do notice that the angles are a bit loose. Playability, well, not a lot of accessories, but he has what he needs, and you can fit him in a lot of different lines. And lastly, 5, the price, come on, $10, you can't beat it. I was really happy that I found the City Hunter because, to my eye, it was the most normal looking Predator. That being said, I really enjoyed playing with this, and although I'm never going to love Predator as much as Alien, I loved this figure enough that I am kind of curious to go and try to hunt down the other two. As far as I'm concerned, that's the mark of a great action figure if it makes you want to buy more action figures. Speaking of more action figures, I have a bunch of other reviews on this channel, so do please check them out, and if you enjoyed this content, please like it, share it, subscribe, do all that YouTube rigmarole to help me get the word out. This is a pretty new channel, so anything you can do to help me spread the word is much appreciated. I'll see you in the next video very, very soon. Until then, have fun.